You are currently a prisoner in a cell that has no bars, and the jailer is a person who treats your heart like a laboratory experiment. Every time you check your phone and feel that hollow ache in your chest because the screen is blank, you are handing over a piece of your soul to someone who thrives on your desperation. You have been conditioned to believe that if you just say the right thing, or if you wait long enough, the person who is hurting you will suddenly realize your value. But the truth is far more brutal. They see your value exactly as it is, a currency they can spend whenever they feel bored. Your pain is not a tragedy to them. It is a confirmation of their power. You are not being ignored because they are busy. You are being ignored because your reaction is the prize they have already won. It is time to stop being the victim of a game you never agreed to play and start building the fortress of your own silence. The mechanism of control begins with the subtle stretching of time. She knows exactly when you message, and she watches the notification sit there, deliberately choosing to let it rot. This is not of organization. It is a calculated calibration of your anxiety. By delaying the response, she forces your brain to fill the silence with 1,000 scenarios of failure. You begin to question your tone, your timing, and your worth, while she enjoys the invisible tether that keeps you anchored to her digital presence. The longer the delay, the more valuable her eventual hey becomes to your starving ego. A spare speaker. Psychologically, this is a form of intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism that makes gambling so addictive. If she responded every time, you would eventually grow bored. But by making her attention unpredictable, she creates a high-stress environment where you are constantly seeking the next win. Historically, humans have always been hypersensitive to social exclusion, as being ignored by the tribe once meant literal death. She is tapping into this ancient biological fear, using the modern smartphone to trigger a primal survival response that leaves you feeling small, frantic, and entirely under her thumb. The only way to break this mechanism is to refuse to acknowledge the clock. When she finally replies after hours of silence, your instinct is to pounce on the message to show her you are still there. You must do the opposite. You must treat her message as the low-priority data that it actually is. If she can wait 4 hours to acknowledge your existence, you can wait 4 days. You are not playing a game. You are resetting the boundary of what you will tolerate. By mirroring her energy, you show her that your time is not a commodity she can regulate at her convenience. Attention is the most precious resource you possess. And right now, you are suffering from hyperinflation. Because you give your attention so freely, it has lost all its purchasing power. She knows that no matter how poorly she treats you, your attention remains a guaranteed safety net. This creates a dynamic where she can explore other options, be cold, or disappear entirely, knowing that you will be exactly where she left. You have made yourself a permanent fixture in her life, and because you are always available, you have become invisible. In any biological system, that which is abundant is ignored, while that which is scarce is hunted. By being the man who always replies, always checks in, and always offers support, you have signaled that your presence has zero cost. Historically, the most respected figures were those whose time was guarded by layers of purpose and mission. When you allow your attention to be hijacked by someone who causes you pain, you are telling the world, and yourself, that your mission is secondary to her validation. This lack of self-prioritization is the fastest way to lose the respect of a woman. The reframing is simple but painful. Stop being the audience for her life. Withdraw your likes, your views, and your check-ins. When you remove the spotlight of your attention, she is forced to stand in the dark of her own making. This isn't about being petty. It is about reinvesting that energy into your own development. Every minute you spend wondering what she is doing is a minute you aren't spending on your physique, your career, or your internal peace. Make your attention so expensive that she can no longer afford to pay the price for it. Just when you finally start to find your footing and the silence begins to heal you, she will throw out a breadcrumb. It will be a lazy text, a random meme, or a hope you're well message sent at 11 p.m. This is not an olive branch. It is a pulse check. She doesn't want to fix the relationship. She just wants to make sure you are still in the cage. She has noticed the decline in her ego boost and needs to confirm that she can still pull your strings with the absolute minimum amount of effort. Psychologically, this is a test of your resolve. She is looking for the fast reply to prove that your recent silence was just a tantrum rather than a transformation. In the animal kingdom, a predator will often circle back to a wounded prey just to see if it still has the strength to flee. If you respond to a breadcrumb with a full meal of conversation, you are telling her that you are still hers to toy with. You are rewarding her for doing nothing, which ensures that she will never have to offer you anything more than the bare minimum. The solution is to ignore the bait entirely. A breadcrumb does not deserve a response. If she wants your presence, she must earn it with clear, direct, and respectful communication. Anything less than a full acknowledgement of her behavior and a genuine effort to change the dynamic should be met with absolute silence. You are a man of substance, not a bird waiting for crumbs to fall from the table. By staying silent, you force her to decide if she is willing to actually work for your time, or if she will simply fade away into the irrelevance she deserves. Silence is the only mirror in which a person is forced to see their true self, and for someone who uses others for validation, silence is terrifying. When you stop reacting, you create a vacuum where her expectations used to be. She expected a fight, a plea, or an apology. Instead, she found nothing. This nothingness is far more damaging to her ego than any insult you could ever hurl. Without your reaction, she has no way to define her power, and the sudden loss of that control feels like a physical weight on her chest. This psychological shift occurs because the brain hates unfinished loops. By going silent, you have created a cliffhanger in the story of her dominance. She will begin to obsess over why you aren't chasing. Was she wrong about you? Did you find someone better? Are you finally seeing her for who she truly is? Historically, the most effective form of punishment in many cultures was ostracization, the total removal of the individual from the group's awareness. By applying this to her, you are triggering a deep existential dread that she is losing her grip on reality. You must become comfortable with the void you have created. Do not feel the need to fill the silence with explanations. You don't owe an explanation for your self-respect. Let her sit in the quiet and listen to the sound of her own mistakes. The more you remain an enigma, the more power you gain. Silence is the ultimate weapon because it cannot be argued with, misquoted, or used against you. It is the sound of a man who has finally realized that he is enough on his own and no longer needs a toxic mirror to confirm his existence. When your silence begins to truly hurt, she will not become a better person. She will likely become more desperate to hurt you back. This is the stage of the performative life. She will post pictures of herself looking better than ever. She will hint at new romantic interests. And she will make sure you see her thriving through mutual connections or social media. This is a frantic attempt to provoke a reaction, any reaction, to prove she still has the power to wound you. She is trying to win the breakup that she started. This behavior is a psychological defense mechanism called externalization. She cannot handle the internal feeling of being rejected by your silence, so she must project an image of being the one who is doing the one rejecting. It is a historical pattern of the fallen tyrant who burns the city down rather than admitting they have lost the throne. If she can make you angry or jealous, then in her mind, she is still the one in control. Your jealousy is the highest form of flattery she can receive, and she will starve herself to get just a taste of it. You must see through the theater. A person who is truly happy and moving on doesn't feel the need to broadcast it to the one person they claim to ignore. Her performance is for an audience of one. You. The solution is to remain a ghost. Do not view the stories, do not ask friends about her, and do not let your facial expressions change when her name is mentioned. When her last-ditch efforts to trigger you fail, her ego will finally crumble. You win by being the only person who doesn't show up to watch her play. Every person has a price of admission for their life, and you have been letting her in for free, even after she trashed the theater. Withdrawing access is the most honest thing you can do for your own mental health. It means she no longer gets to know your thoughts, she no longer gets to see your progress, and she no longer gets to benefit from your emotional labor. This is not a timeout. It is the permanent closing of the gate. You are teaching her, and more importantly yourself, that access to you is a privilege, not a right. Psychologically, the brain values things that are exclusive and difficult to obtain. By making yourself unavailable, you are performing a radical act of self-valuation. In the past, the sovereign would only grant audiences to those who showed the proper respect and followed the proper protocols. When you allow someone who causes you pain to have direct access to your mind through a text or a call, you are abdicating your own sovereignty. You are telling your subconscious that your boundaries are negotiable, which creates an internal state of permanent insecurity. The reframing here is to view your life as a private club with a very strict bouncer. She has violated the rules of the club, and her membership is revoked. This means blocking her if necessary, or simply becoming so unresponsive that she eventually gives up. You aren't being mean. You are being protective. You wouldn't let a person who poisons your food back into your kitchen. So why would you let a person who poisons your mind back into your head? Close the door, lock it, and throw away the key until you are strong enough to not even remember what was behind it. The man who used to chase her, the one who would triple text and lose sleep over her moods, is dead. You must kill that version of yourself with extreme prejudice. She is looking for that man because he was easy to manage and predictable in his pain. When she reaches out now, she expects to find the same soft target she left behind. Your transformation is only complete when she realizes that the person she is trying to contact no longer exists. You have been replaced by a stranger who looks like you but lacks the weakness she used to exploit. This is the psychological concept of identity death and rebirth. You are shedding the skin of a person who needed external validation to feel whole. Historically, rites of passage often involved a symbolic death followed by the emergence of a warrior or a leader. You are in that transition right now. The pain you feel is the old you trying to stay alive, begging for the familiar dopamine of her attention. You must starve that old self until it withers away, leaving only the hardened, focused individual who prioritizes his own growth over any woman's smile. The solution is to lean into the new you. Engage in activities that the old you was too distracted to pursue. Build the body that the old you was too tired to forge. When she finally sees you again, whether in person or through the grapevine, she should feel a sense of uncanny valley. She should recognize the face but realize she has no idea how to talk to the man behind it. The greatest revenge is not success. It is becoming someone she doesn't have the tools to handle. Most of your suffering comes from the fact that you placed her on a throne in the center of your mind, and you have been acting as a court jester, trying to keep her entertained. It is time to reclaim that seat. The internal throne is the place where your values, your mission, and your self-respect reside. When that seat is occupied by your own purpose, it doesn't matter who comes or goes in your life. You are the source of your own gravity. A woman can be a guest in your kingdom, but she can never be the ruler of it. Psychologically, this is the shift from an external to an internal locus of control. If your mood depends on her text, she owns you. If your mood depends on your own progress and the integrity of your actions, you own yourself. Historically, the most stable empires were those that focused on internal infrastructure rather than constant external conquest. By building your own mental infrastructure, your habits, your discipline, and your philosophy, you create a self that is immune to the fate. fluctuations of another person's emotions. You become the mountain that the wind cannot move. Every morning, ask yourself, who is on the throne today? If you find yourself thinking about her first thing, she is still sitting there. Evict her. Replace that thought with a task that improves your life. Spend your mental energy on the boring work of self-improvement. When you truly care more about your deadlifts, your bank account, or your craft than you do about her opinion, you have achieved true sovereignty. The throne belongs to you, and it is time you started acting like the rightful king of your own headspace. She will eventually see that her games are failing, and she may pivot to a more dangerous strategy. The vulnerability trap. She will come to you with tears, with stories of her own struggles, or with a sudden realization of how confused she was. She will ask for forgiveness not because she has changed, but because she needs to regain access to your emotional energy. This is a false forgiveness designed to lower your guard so she can re-establish the old power dynamic. If you let her back in without a fundamental change in her character, you are just signing up for a second season of the same show. This is a psychological tactic often called hoovering, where a toxic person tries to suck you back into their orbit after you've escaped. It plays on your empathy and your desire for closure. But closure is a myth you tell yourself to justify reopening a wound. Historically, a city that opened its gates to a retreating army that hadn't surrendered was often sacked from the within. You cannot afford to be nice when your soul is at stake. Her sudden change of heart is almost always a reaction to your strength, not a reflection of her growth. The solution is to judge people by their patterns, not their apologies. An apology without a change in behavior is just manipulation. If she truly regrets her actions, she will demonstrate it through consistent, long-term effort that respects your new boundaries. Until then, stay behind your walls. You don't have to be angry, you just have to be observant. Tell her that you've moved on, and that her path is no longer yours. True forgiveness is letting go of the anger while keeping the gate firmly closed. The opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. Hate is still a form of passion. It means you are still emotionally invested, still reacting, and still tethered to her. Indifference is the total absence of energy. It is when she could walk past you on the street, and your heart rate wouldn't move a single beat. This is the goal. When you reach the stage of radiance through indifference, you have truly won. You no longer need to go silent because you want to show her. You are silent because you simply have nothing left to say. Psychologically, indifference signifies that the neural pathways associated with her have finally begun to atrophy. You have successfully redirected your brain's resources to more productive areas. Historically, the most powerful position in any negotiation is the ability to walk away and mean it. When you are indifferent, your walk-away power is absolute. You are no longer bargaining for her love or respect because you have already provided those things to yourself. You have become the sun, shining for its own sake, while she is just a distant planet that has lost its orbit. Cultivate indifference by focusing on the now. When you find yourself dwelling on the past, immediately pivot to a physical sensation or a current goal. Do not allow your mind to indulge in the what-ifs of a toxic relationship. Indifference is a muscle that grows with every day you choose to not care. Eventually, you will look back and realize you haven't thought about her in weeks. That is the moment of true liberation. You are free, not because she left, but because she no longer matters. The journey through pain and silence has forged a new archetype, the sovereign man. This is a man who is the sole arbiter of his own worth. He does not seek approval. He does not fear abandonment, and he does not negotiate with people who disrespect him. He has learned that his peace is the most expensive thing he owns, and he refuses to sell it for the cheap high of a toxic woman's attention. He is not a man who is hardened by hate, but one who is clarified by truth. He moves through the world with a quiet, lethal confidence that draws people in but requires nothing from them. The psychological impact of this state is a profound sense of inner calm that others can feel. You have eliminated the neediness that once made you a target for manipulation. Historically, the sovereign man is the one who could lead because he was not led by his own impulses. He is the captain of his own soul. When you reach this level, women will sense your detachment and be drawn to it, but you will no longer be moved by their pull. You have broken the cycle of being the hunter, and have become the prize that only the most disciplined and respectful individuals can even hope to approach. Live as a sovereign man by setting impossibly high standards for who you allow into your inner circle. Your life is a masterpiece in progress, and you cannot afford to let someone with dirty hands touch the canvas. Prioritize your mission, your health, and your brothers. When you are focused on building a legacy, the petty games of a hurtful woman seem like distant static on a radio you've already turned off. You are the architect, the king, and the judge. Act accordingly. The transformation you seek is not waiting at the end of a phone call or a text message. It is waiting at the end of your own resolve. You have been given the tools to dismantle the prison of overthinking and to reclaim the power that you so willingly handed away. This path is not easy. It requires the cold discipline of a warrior and the unwavering focus of a man who knows his time is running out. But the reward is a life where no one can ever make you feel small again. If you are ready to bury the man who chased and become the man who leads, then subscribe to this channel and stand with those who have chosen strength over comfort. Leave a comment below that says "I am untouchable" to signal to your subconscious that the games are over. Your new life begins the moment you decide that your silence is worth more than her noise. Be strong, be disciplined, and never look back.